Hi, I'm Randy Rowland from Pepperspray Productions. I'm one of the producers of Indie Media Presents. I recently got an email from David Zeiger, who produced the movie Sir No Sir, that a different movie was going to be re-released. This is the FTA show, which hasn't been seen publicly for 35 years in this country or anywhere. The story is this. Back during the Vietnam War, there was a troupe of performers who went around giving performances to American soldiers just off base in a variety of places throughout the Pacific and across the United States, different military bases. And it was called the FTA show. Most notable people, there was Country Joe McDonald, there was Donald Sutherland, Jane Fonda, a variety of others. And when the FTA show played at Fort Lewis, I was organizing GIs in those days, and we organized quite a turnout. I can remember well. The show performed in a wrestling arena in Tacoma, just off of the Fort Lewis and McCord Air Force bases, and the place was packed. There were thousands of soldiers in there, and it was a great show. We had organized well, and the turnout exceeded our dreams really, and the soldiers turned out, and it was so amazing to be sitting there as a young man in a room full of American soldiers, while Country Joe McDonald was singing, "We love Ho Chi Minh, we love Ho Chi Minh." Here was thousands of American soldiers singing, "We love Ho Chi Minh, deep, deep down, down, deep down in my heart." You know, these are American soldiers singing that they love the leader of the country that we were at war with. It was an amazing moment. Well, that show was full of amazing things, not the least of which was when Donald Sutherland, with all of his actor's ability, would read or recite, because he'd read it so many times he knew it by heart, but he would read the final portions of this incredible book called Johnny Got His Gun. It's one of the few places in literature where you can see a call for the soldiers to turn their guns around, and so here was Donald Sutherland reading to American soldiers, thousands of whom were just cheering and really just loving it and lapping it up, this section from Johnny Got His Gun, which calls on soldiers to turn their guns around on their masters. It was quite a moment. And that show toured around, all kinds of military bases, and then toured the Pacific. And out of it came this movie called the FTA show. Well, the FTA show played for about a week, and it was pulled. And then it was sort of, you could rent it. We showed it a few times. But then you couldn't even rent it. You couldn't find a copy for love or money. It totally disappeared. All available copies disappeared. I happen to have gotten a VHS copy of it from one of the producers of the FTA tour and one of the editors of the film, who were scared that it was going to disappear from history. And they didn't really want that legacy to disappear, and so they cobbled together a VHS copy, and then they gave copies of that out to various people. I was one of them, and so over the years I've had a copy of this movie on VHS tape, and a couple times in the past on this show we've shown segments of it. There were no available copies anywhere. There was no illegal or legal. There wasn't copies except for those ones that had been made by these guys who were scared that it would disappear. Well, now it's going to be re-released, and you're going to be able to buy it on DVD. I think it's going to be available February 24th, and you can get it, if you're interested in checking out more information about it, you can go to David Zeiger's site for the Sir No Sir movie. And so it's www.sirnosir.com/FTA. And I'm really, really glad that this thing is finally going to be available again. And I really, I really encourage people to try and find some way to watch it, because there was very little that was made during the Vietnam War that exists that people can actually see what the sentiment of the soldiers was. And this particular movie really reflects that in a pretty dramatic way. So what we're going to do today on Indie Media Presents is give you just a little bit of the movie. I guess it's probably our last time to show the pirated version before we have to start respecting copyrights again. But it's been so unavailable that we felt that we were part of keeping that legacy alive by keeping this movie before people's eyes. And so here is just a little bit of the FTA show to encourage you to go check out the whole thing.
Dreaming of going places, meeting new people, doing exciting things. Ever thought about the Air Force?
May I call you Airman?
Oh, yes, Captain.
When I first saw you, silhouetted in the tower, silhouetted by the light from the radar screen, bringing in that crippled plane, a wave of confidence welled through me. And I knew that with you there, my F-111 would be a safer place to be.
Oh, Captain. Captain, I have a dream.
I have a dream, a big dream, a dream of democracy.
That's my dream.
And together we can help protect the free world from unfair competition and ensure that future generations will have a free world to protect.
Yes, sir.
They sent me to code school in old Monterey. I worked very hard and got my MOS. Decoded those words, say FTA, but what they mean, hey, no one could guess. Free the Albanians, future teachers of America, who would write that on latrines. Foxtrot, Tango, Alpha, help me, tell me, what does it mean?
Just a minute, operator. Oh, damn, I don't have any change. Excuse me, Private. Do you have change for a quarter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You do not say yeah to an officer. An officer is always addressed as sir. Now, I learned that in basic training, Private, and so did you. You always address an officer as sir. Now, I'm going to give you one more chance, and I want to hear that sir loud and clear. Private, do you have change for a quarter?
No, sir. I went down to that base. They took one look at my face and read out an order to bar me. I said, Foxtrot, Tango, Alpha. Free the Army.
I think I'm gonna get me a watchdog.
What you need a watchdog for, Sarge? You're surrounded by 250 armed men.
That's why I'm gonna get me a watchdog.
No Vietnamese ever ordered me to fight. They never flew over my hometown to bomb me. So I have to say Foxtrot, Tango, Alpha. Free the Army.
Mr. President, there's a terrible demonstration going on outside.
Oh, there's always a demonstration going on outside, Pat.
Yeah, but Richard, this one is completely out of control.
What are they asking for this time?
Free Angela Davis and all political prisoners, out of Vietnam now, and draft all government officials.
Well, we have people to take care of that. They'll do their job, you do your job, and I'll do my job.
Richard, you don't understand. They're storming the White House.
Oh, in that case, I better call out the 3rd Marines.
You can't, Richard.
Why not?
It is the 3rd Marine.
Down to the base, they could look at my face and read out an order to bar me. So we said, Foxtrot, Tango, Alpha. For the Army and the Navy and the Marines!
I want to read from a book. The book is called Johnny Got His Gun. And it was written in 1938, a year and a half before the Second World War. That's what I'm going to read. It was written about an American GI who was sent to France in the 1914-1918 war to keep the world safe for democracy. And he got hit by a high-velocity shell, and they blew off his arms and legs, everything, his eyes. He didn't have anything. He was kept alive like a fragment of meat in a hospital in France. And he couldn't figure out what to do with his life. I mean, he lived, but, you know, he could tap with his head and communicate, but he couldn't imagine what use his life could be. And he gradually began to discover that if people around the world saw him, saw this piece of meat that couldn't see or hear or speak or anything, they would understand the futility and the horror and the stupidity of war. So he sent to his commanding authority and the government and everyone and asked them if they would put him in a glass box and send him around the world, you know, so that everybody in the world could see him. And in looking at him, they would understand, and then they would make all people come together and all people be free. And he waited for the answer because he thought that the governments, once they heard that idea, would be really eager and do it. And the answer came back, and the answer, of course, was no, that he had to stay in the hospital, that nobody could see him, that he just had to stay there, and he couldn't understand. And then suddenly he did. Suddenly he saw. He had a vision of himself as a new kind of Christ, as a man who carries within himself all the seeds of a new order of things. He was the new Messiah of the battlefields, saying to people, as I am, so shall you be. That was it. He understood it. He understood it now. He understood everything. He had told them his secret. And in denying him, the authorities had told him theirs. He was the future. He was a perfect picture of the future, and the authorities were afraid to let anyone see what the future was like. Already they were looking ahead. They were figuring the future. And somewhere in that future, they saw war. Now, to fight that war, they would need men. But if men saw the future, they wouldn't fight.
I see. That's right. I've seen Charlie, Luke the Gook, whatever you want to call him, NVA. Right there laying down as I walk by. I looked at him, he looks at me. Could go on by my business. This man didn't do me nothing. He didn't hurt me in no type of way. He didn't hurt none of my black people, none of my families. So why should I shoot him?
What do we come in the Marine Corps for, all right? They say we come in to uphold democratic government. Okay, I don't see anything democratic about it. It's nothing but capitalism. That's all it is, and imperialism. That's all it is. And I feel all black men should be exempt from military duty anyway. Because
right on.
The only place a black man should fight is where he's being oppressed. And I'm not being oppressed in Japan, I'm not being oppressed in Vietnam, and I'm not being oppressed in Pakistan. And I'm not going to Pakistan, I go to jail first. And as far as being over here, I'm here because we're not warring over here. That's the only reason I'm here now. And I feel all the brothers that's here today and all the brothers that's all over the world, it's time for to wake up. It's time for us to do something about this man. This man has been doing us too long.
General, what he got on this base, General Owens. He himself, he'll if you ever go in, a lot of blacks went in there and rap to him, he'll tell you, he is from the South. Like I was rapping to him the other day. I said, do you feel that there is any prejudice on this base? He says, yes, I feel there's prejudice on this base, but I'm trying to do everything in my power to correct it. And you know, me, myself, I see with my own eyes and I hear, and I don't see nothing being done or corrected.
I mean, we had a CEO that would come out and tell you, I don't like blacks, you know? I don't like blacks. His name was Jones. He got his father's a general or somebody, you know? Lieutenant Jones, sucking for his ass. I hope you look at his film, too.
There's people like Lieutenant Colonel Limbach, Colonel Kelly, Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major, the tired, all of them tired. General Owens, it's all these swines on the space that's causing blacks to get their mind the way it is now, you see. And afraid to whereas, you know, we got to be in a unionized, in a unity, a state of unity, you know.
This is the first place I've seen where there's so much unity within the blacks and the Puerto Ricans as one, as a whole. Because back in the world, you the civilians, the blacks and the Spanish, they just at each other's throats. I went home, I leave, I peeped this, I had a swoop, man. I had to come back. As much as I hated to come back to base, man, I just left, man. Because there was no kind of unity. They were at each other's throats, man.
I grew up in the ghettos, and I'm willing to go back. I'm going to go back. Because I got a job in those ghettos. That's to try to get my brothers off of dope, for one. That's to try to keep my brothers from killing up each other. That's number 2. Number 3 is to educate my brothers as to what is happening in this world today. Once I get them off their dope, once I stop them from killing up each other, I got to educate them. That's why I'm educating myself right now, so I can go back and try to educate them.
But P, talking about educate yourself. Like, I know one thing for him and one thing for me. Like, any book we read, you know, we got a dictionary beside us. In case we run across a word we don't know what it means, we looking it up. Like, hey, how many people can tell me what communist is, you know? Like, a whole lot of people talk about, well, you communist, man. You don't even know what it is, you know? Socialism. Revolution, freedom, blackness. How many of y'all can go in the dictionary? How many of y'all been in the dictionary to look at them words? And before you can start a revolution, you gotta know about Marx, Mao, Ho Chi Minh, Che. You gotta know, I mean, like, you just can't jump out and have a revolution. Like, you can go along with it and do what you know if you don't know it all. But before you have a revolution, you gotta know the conditions you gotta live under, what you gotta sacrifice for it. That's why I want friendship, I want brotherhood and revolutionaries.
Me, myself, what it all boils down to, like the situation over in Iwakuni, the situation on the military bases all over the world, is just a reflection of what's happening back in the world. Like you won't see a change here until you see a change back in the world.
You're right.
Because like that's what the power structure is back in the world.
That's right.
Like if I die for a cause, something I believe in. I'm happy. But I ain't gonna just die by getting hit by a straight bullet and don't know what's going on. Then I'm pissed off. Give me a cause that I can believe in. And let me die for that.
I'll let you live to fight for that. I once knew a man, long, lean, and tan, could pull a pig's eyes out with a twist of his hand. Respected women, was gentle and wise, had sensitive eyes, strong, powerful thighs, and lips that spoke truth and never told lies. This man was my hero, my lover, my friend. All my life in his arms I could spend. He would warm me and charm me, but never would harm me. Then one day came a knock on the door. A messenger for him a telegram bore. Said, greetings, we want you to slave in this war. To slave, to kill, to napalm, and worse, upon this place we've laid our curse. One man said, hey, baby, come look at this shit. Tricky Dick wants me to go make a hit. He wants me to leave you, sweet sugar stuff, and go to the Nam and kill till he say no. He said, I'll kill for my mama. I'll kill for you, stuff. Let him fuck with my clothes and the shit might get rough. But to kill 'cause I'm told to maim and to burn on this crazy motherfucker I have got to turn. Yeah, I'll join the army, the platoons of the streets with sirens and music to which we'll pat our feet. But my man was cool. Didn't shout like a fool. He got real quiet and went back to school. He studied computers and laid back and dreamed and stayed out the army while he plotted and schemed. Now his little baby bra just back from the Nam had a drippy nose and a pet monkey named Sam. He said, big bra, I'm ready, 'cause I don't give a damn. I got a Barry Mean Jones, and I'd rather die here than far, far from home. I ain't gonna tell you that I came back the same, but demolition's my trade and death is my game. The shit that they shot me has me drowsy and weak, but I'd rather blow a pig pen than shoot up for a week. While little baby bra drifted off into a nod, in floated my man's friend Ichabod. There's something about him made your hair stand on end. He could read your mind and probe your brain, drank plenty wine, sniffed a little cocaine, had a smile as soft as the gentle spring rain. He said, brothers, I have come here from Tibet. I've been meditating 10 years and I'm a neophyte, yet I can make a helicopter fall from the sky. With a wave of my hand, I can make a tall building no longer stand. I can don a cloak of invisibility, slip through a keyhole and walk on the sea. I have come here to join your group because the pigs is parked on my back porch stoop. He said, greetings, brother. We need you in this mess, but before you meet the rest, let me take you through a little unity test. Now, I can't exactly tell you what to do, but there's the armory. The rest is up to you. Ichabod went into a state. His eyes clouded over. He began to levitate. He floated high above our heads and landed gently as though pulled by a thread. Off in the distance, we heard a muffled sound and a flash-like reaction as from an atom bomb. Outside, we heard the rumble of a van, heavily loaded, but not driven by a man. Out stepped a sister, bandolero down with a short, funky natural and a determined frown. She said, brothers, Brother Bai just called me on our spiritual telegraph and asked me to bring you the armory, just for a laugh. She said, now, I really don't think we need all this heat, but we could just give them to the people in the street. The sister was fine. Her attitude was clean, and dressed very nicely and just a little mean. Brother Bard straightened up, and Ichabod closed in to make his hit. She stepped back nicely and said, brothers, please don't start that shit. I will respect and cherish you as a jewel if you just don't talk to me like I am a fool. I have a doctorate in astrology, mathematics, psychology, and Egyptology. I have come here to help you kill fear. I am the center in the circle, in the cycle of a spiral spinning.
You can't help the feeling of apathy back at home. They think, well, this is really is a small faction of what probably people at home, consider malcontents. But if they had to live this day to day, they just wouldn't believe it.
They don't know what's going on. All they hear is the propaganda from the United States. Well, they're a bunch of fuck-ups,
Anybody that's in Fire 33 that was in Naha right after President Nixon stated there were no nuclear weapons in Okinawa sat there in front of our hangar and watched 23 of them get towed by. We sat there and they took them up to us.
At that time, and I was stationed in ammunition company, and I helped move that.
They took them up to a super constellation, and the thing flew around Naha, like 3 hours, landed, and we counted them, and they brought them back to that goddamn island they stick them on. We listened on the radio, Nixon said, make no mistake, there are no nuclear weapons there. Man, I fucking saw it.
I think they ought to take some of these films and stuff and show them in the Midwest where these Joe college straight people see it instead of on the coast where everybody is more open-minded. They ought to start in the Midwest and change some of the Mrs. Averages and Mr. Averages to our way of thinking, because that's where you ought to start, is with them warped society people in the Midwest. Missouri. I am, but I can't even go to my own house, man. They look down at me because I'm a short-haired, short-haired communist doper. I'm a radical.
I live in one of the smallest places in the country, man. Beaver Dam, Kentucky. People are on my side. People are on my side. I get letters saying, wow, you should see what's happening at home, People are changing.
That's what it comes to. You got to get the people back to States, get the word to them so they'll know. Because I've come from places and I've been and talked to people and they say, well, man, what's really going on? I don't hear that's what it is. No one really knows.
The following demands represent the feelings of hundreds of American servicemen and women on Iwakuni base, as well as the wives and families of servicemen at this base. We can no longer remain silent about the atrocities and injustice being perpetrated by the United States military on peoples of other nations, nor the petty harassment that servicemen and women are made to endure day after day.
We demand an end to all discriminating policies against persons because of their race.
We demand an end to all discrimination against persons such as anti-war GIs because they do not agree with U.S. policies. We demand that the Japanese people be authorized to search Iwakuni base to determine the truth about nuclear weapons on this base. We demand that no plane leaving Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni be allowed to fly to Southeast Asia for any reason whatsoever. We demand that Iwakuni base be given back to the Japanese people and stop being run by the imperialistic American government.
We demand an immediate and total withdrawal of all air and ground troops and CIA from Vietnam, as well as from Korea, Guam, Okinawa, Japan, the Philippines, Israel, Cambodia, Thailand, Germany, England, Panama, Guantanamo Bay, Laos, and so forth.
These demands will be presented outside in one corner, each corner, and this corner here and the corner here by people. If you do believe in these demands, please put your signatures on them. Thank you.
We're done with it forever and ever. Because we are the living and we will not be destroyed. If you make a war, if there are guns to be aimed, if there are bullets to be fired, if there are men to be killed, they will not be us. They'll not be us, the guys who grow wheat and turn it into food, the guys who make clothes and paper and houses and tiles, who build dams and power plants and string the long, moaning, high-tension wires, the guys who crack crude oil down into a dozen different parts, who make light globes and automobiles and sewing machines and shovels and airplanes and tanks and guns. Oh, no. No, it will not be us who die. It will be you. It will be you. You who urge us on to battle. You who incite us against ourselves. You who would have one cobbler kill another cobbler. You who would have one man who works kill another man who works. You who would have one human being who wants only to live kill another human being who wants only to live. Remember this. Remember this well, you people who plan for war. Remember this, you patriots, you fierce ones, you spawners of hate, you inventors of slogans. Remember this, as you have never remembered anything else in your lives. We are men of peace. We are men who work, and we want no quarrel. But if you destroy our peace, if you take away our work, if you try to range us one against the other, we will know what to do. If you tell us to make the world safe for democracy, we will take you seriously, and by God and by Christ we will make it so. We will use the guns you force upon us. We will use them to defend our very lives, and the menace to our lives does not lie on the other side of a no man's land set apart without our consent. It lies within our own boundaries here, and now we've seen it and we know it. Put the guns into our hands and we will use them. Give us the slogans, we'll turn them into realities. Sing the battle hymns, and we'll take them up where you left off. Not 1, not 10, not 10,000, not 1 million, not 100 million, not 1,000 million, but 1 billion, 2 billion of us. All the people of the world. We will have the slogans, and we will have the hymns, and we will have the guns, and we will use them, and we will live. Make no mistake of it. We will live. We will be alive, and we will walk and talk and laugh and sing and love and bear our children in tranquility, in security, in decency, in peace. You plan the war, point the way, and we will point the gun.